the real world context should like come second. Like you are saying that faith leaders should contextualize the existing conditions, the context, and then build build off on it. Like in their religious activities, so that it can benefit both worlds, not only the afterworld. Yeah. So that's the word I have for contextual theology.
Thank you. And we have another person. Please share.
The general topic is the. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, okay. Yes.
Yeah. The spiritual leaders' role, because of the article is finding about the. Can you hear?
Yes. Could you continue, please?
Okay. Because of the research is finding about the special leaders are the social problems, and then the social problems. The special leader how intervenes this intervenes in general crisis in society. So that's why the article find the general of the article is the special leaders' rules. Thanks. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. So, are these everyone already in class? That's everyone? Okay. So, Leize gave us the whole summary, and because she wanted us to go home, but I refused to go home. And Kathy talked about social transformation as the overall topic. And Mr. Ong Saya said it's the secular religious balance. And for Winbo, it is contextual theology. And then for Motida, it's the role of spiritual leaders in dealing with social problems. So you've all got different things from this article and looking at it as the main topic. Okay, thank you. Then, my computer is slow. It's kind of frozen. I can't move it. It's not moving. Hello, computer. Please communicate with me, computer. Hello.
You have to be patient, Dr. Ray. You give so many orders.
Hello, computer. Please move. It's not moving.
Let's collect money and buy the new one.
Okay. Okay, the next question is, what is the specific case under consideration? We'll go around the table again, please. Who wants to go first? What is the case under consideration? This is a case study. It's not moving. Oh my goodness. Yeah, my PowerPoint is, let me, it's not moving at all. Let me remove my article. Yeah, my PowerPoint is frozen. So who wants to share what is the case under consideration? Okay, it's kind of... Anyone? What is our case study, basically? Leize.
Okay, I'll go.
Please.
I am afraid, I'm focusing on your research purpose. I believe that we can find the answer here.
No, I'll stop you because that will be another question.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So this is not the case.
Yes.
So Maybe the case is to use human rights approach and to rethink Christianity in the way to respond to this crisis that we are facing now and need answers, and how Christianity could be an answer and could move on from. Yeah,
Okay.
stop it.
Okay. You're giving more or less the aim of the case, but I'm asking what is the case. By the way, Laize, the joke I made about you earlier, that's what my professor, Dr. Thomas, Lad Thomas, told me. Ray, he asked the first question in class. I summarized the whole paper. He said, let's go home. So I'm thinking of myself when I was making a joke earlier. I did the same thing in class. Okay. Yeah, so, okay, you gave us the aim. Someone else wants to share? What is the case that we're looking at? Let me ask Kathy again. Maybe let's go that cycle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wondered. I have a little different approach.
Yes, okay.
When I hear the word case, I think of the language you used about case study and
Yes.
scope. The
Yes.
scope. To me, the case is the Christian Conference of Asia and the 4 or 5 different areas, ministry areas in peace building, diaconia, like that.
All
So that's how I appreciate the case.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you, Kathy. We'll go around the same cycle. Saya, please. What is the case we're looking at?
I think the call for the unity of the Christian to, what do you call it? Yeah, you say ecumenism in Asia, but at the same time, they are also involved in the, not even the spiritual world, but here we were talking about training the people, the women and the young people in human rights. So
Okay.
I see that. So it's spiritual and sexual, I think also.
Okay, unity
What I
of
see.
Christians for human rights and spirituality.
Yeah, but you still like service food. Of course, we
Sunday
have
school.
to. Yeah, the scripture, the Bible say like service food, but at the same time we are talking about human rights things. So you can see the contradictions, and I don't. Yeah. So how do we stand on that?
Okay.
Talking about service food and also uniting in Christianity, and at the same time handling human rights thing and training the people, the Christian about all these things.
Okay, thank you, Saya. And Winbo, please.
Yes, I think the case you discussed here is that you would like to like lift the like marginalized voices regarding the Christian ministries activities regarding these conflict resolutions, peace building, and like human trafficking and like migration. So like those kind of things. So the case is that you study about this marginalized voice of the activities of the Christian ministries.
Okay, thank you. And Motida, please. Motida.
Close them. I knew I thought.
Okay.
Okay, the case is a organizational case. In the organization have a social spiritual leaders, and then the spiritual leaders are finding the social problem and how to intervene this social problem. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Well, if you look at the title, the case is not hidden, it's explicit there. What is the adjective for the case? It's right in the title. Yeah, it's ecumenical. So and Kathy talked about the CCA, that's the focus of this paper. So that's the ecumenical body. And you have mentioned the unity of Christians. But is ecumenical will go later, just the unity of Christians? Well, we'll see, we'll go further. Again, I think my PowerPoint is rebelling. It's just going in circles. Okay, now, let's go to the keywords. Name one keyword of the paper. Leize, just one, please. Leize.
Yeah, I wrote already. Justice.
Justice, okay. Yeah. And Kathy?
Leadership.
Leadership, okay. And Seya?
Social transformation.
Social transformation, okay. And then Winbo?
Contextual theology. Yeah, the same.
Say it again, please.
Contextual theology.
Okay, contextual theology. Oh,
Yes.
that's a heavy word, which you will discuss later, maybe. And Motida?
Social intervention.
Social intervention. It sounds like your NGO. Okay. Yeah, so you got some keywords. So if you were writing this paper, so these are the keywords you will see. And if you use these keywords, they should not only be decorative, you should actually use them and have actually used them, in fact. And you extracted from your paper and you found out these are some of the key terms in your paper. Okay? And then if you look at the title, all of you have mentioned some of the keywords too. Like Seya mentioned human rights, and then Dr. Lee mentioned, of course, it's peace building. And then Kathy mentioned CCA, which is the ecumenical body around it, and then spiritual leadership also. So, okay, then let's see. Now, tell me, what problems is this paper addressing? Please, let's go. Leize, please.
Yes, I go. The problems are these new realities that the society is facing.
Okay, new reality,
New trends like
yes.
economic problems,
Okay.
new in Asia especially. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll just take one. Yeah,
Okay,
people
just take
can
one.
go.
So others will have a chance. Kathy, what's another problem this paper is addressing?
I think you are trying to address the different understanding of religion and spirituality. Yeah.
Okay, great. So looking at the distinction between the two. Seya.
I think with the globalization and economic development, there comes a lot of social problems. So it is addressing the social problems from the point of view of Christianity, I think.
Okay, addressing social problem from the Christian point of view. Winbo.
I think you are addressing the problems that are like rooted in the colonialism of Asia, and it's like when I read your paper, like it is like very radical in terms of this, like criticizing the colonial post colonialism and the capitalism and the consequences coming out of these systems. So I think that is what you are addressing. Yeah.
Okay, so you're calling me a radical. And
No, I'm not calling you radical. Just
no, it's okay. It's
the
okay.
theory.
It's a badge of
Yeah.
honor. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. Okay, and Motida.
So you mean that the research problem?
Surely, if you want to put it in academic terms, yes.
Oh yeah. So the research problem is social problem to find the solution. So social problem is economic problem, cultural problem, civil and political problem, something like that. So the spiritual leaders also believe so they have to intervention this, and then the finding is outcome of the social solving the social issue. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're looking at, Laise said, there's a new reality in the different areas. Kathy talked about the distinction between religion and spirituality, maybe the dialectical relationship between them. And then Saya talked about addressing social problems. Winbo, a radical critique by a radical, and Motida finding solution to these problems. Okay, thank you. So the questions which were addressed, what were the questions addressed in this paper? Laise, please, since you were doing the rounds.
Yeah. We can look at the research questions.
Okay.
And that is 4 questions. I'll pick up one. I'll go to the last. Like the outcomes, the results that can come from spiritual leaders, and what can be the result when they act as a catalyst for social transformation, agents for social transformation. What can come from that?
Okay. Thank you. And Kathy?
What are spiritual leaders, or what are leaders doing about the different social changes? How are they responding? How are the leaders responding to the social transformations?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Saya?
Last night I tried to send my reflection to Dr. Lee, and it's about interventionists. So sometimes Christian religious actors or Christian leaders can play a role in peace building and conflict transformation. Here's about social crises that happen, how they intervene and how they handle this and how they play the role in the social crisis from Christianity, Christian leader and Christian religious actors, how they handle it.
So you use the word interventionist. It sounds bad, in political science language when you use the word interventionist. Okay, thank you. But I know what you mean. Winbo, please.
I think I will go like the same with Kathy's answers. That actually, like what are the activities that Christian leaders are doing in order to address the current challenges that Asian society is facing.
Okay, thank you. Motida, please.
The question mentioned in this research is that spiritual leaders are how they engage the social intervention.
Okay, so thank you. Most of you talk about the response, the activities, social intervention. So that's the key point. So definitely you're looking at not just relying on like on prayers, but being in the world, right? So in philosophy, there's such a thing as being and becoming, existence, and so on. So thank you. So how well has the case done in relation to its overall plan? Look at the big picture. Let's go around the table. Meaning, this is a case study of the ecumenical movement focusing on Asia. And the plan of research, it says this is the problem, these are the questions, these are the key terms. Was it able to fulfill what it promised to fulfill? From page 1 to the last page, laize. Why or why not? Or you can give from a scale from 0 to 10. Okay. 0 being
Yeah.
the worst, 10 being the best.
I give 10, of course.
No,
I
don't
found
do an of course. I'm not grading you. Dr. Lee, so it's okay to critique me.
okay.
Okay.
Maybe I felt very good, and but maybe you could add. Yeah, I can see your notes like links for we can check these institutions, like you share here. But I see that in your notes because when someone reads, like you feel that you want to be engaged in that, and I really feel that I will put Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V in the internet and try to search it of these institutions that are doing a great work.
Okay.
But I see that you did in your notes, so for me it's good, and also give us this sense that we want to do the same.
Okay. Thank you. But you will do the same, right? You will go to faith-based organizations working with refugee children. Okay.
I hope so.
Thank you. Kathy, please.
On one hand, I think it is very comprehensive because the paper actually outlines a very broad and wide list of different areas or different kinds of social interventions, different responses to all manner of different challenges in Asian society. That's on one hand. On the other hand, personally, I would want to know more about, how do I say, not just the coming together of the event itself or different activities, but the results. So what happened after? So maybe, I don't know if I'm just eager to learn more about the longer lasting impact and not just the immediate. I mean, maybe that's the point, is the fact that you have been able to implement and create these activities, that in and of itself is a major accomplishment, and to show that this really is a way to address. However, I just long for maybe a deeper analysis of maybe one of the situations or something like that. Yeah.
Like labor migration.
Yeah, because that's of interest to me. And again, you shared some of those things, but I think in the process of doing so much, you also lacked the ability to go deeper with one of the events or a scope of a type of event, or who among the marginalized peoples. Was it only the labor migrants? Was it the indigenous peoples? Was it folks who are related to climate change? So again, depending on which marginalized groups you choose. But I think it was very helpful to see the breadth of the kinds of activities that different leaders could be involved in.
Okay, and I look forward to your deeper analysis on labor migration because I know you have organized and are part of many Asia-wide and global, I should say, labor migration activities, movements, and I want to know your results too because
Thank
you're
you.
deeply involved.
Thank you very much. Thank
you so much. So you give it a 5 out of 10. 5 for showing the breadth and 0 for lack of depth.
Oh, I don't know about half full like that. Yeah. No, I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I'm not ready to give a number.
Okay, thank you. Saya.
I see that there are varieties of social issues to addressed here, and the different approaches. But actually, there's a need of holistic view and finding the alternatives in addressing all these social crises and the approaches. What I see is like that.
Okay, thank you. Winbo, please.
I think like your paper has a very coherent logic about like the problem you are stating, and then the role of the religious leaders and like what they are doing. I think like it is like the logic. It is like really coherent. But on the other hand, I think that the role of the religious leaders you focus on, it is more of like regional or sub-regional level leaders. And I think it would be great also to balance it with some kind of local religious leaders who are not in affiliation with these regional or like sub-regional or national level organizations and religious leaders doing. I think it would be it would add like more values to the paper. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Thank you. So you sound like Dr. Lee. I have coherent logic, which is a good thing you learn from Dr. Lee, but I lack local level, which is wonderful, good critique. So I get 5 points for coherent logic and 0 for local level.
No, not like that.
Motida, please. I'm putting in extremes so people can see, your weaknesses and strength. It's exaggeration, but that's how people see things vividly. Okay, so I can see the weaknesses in this paper. Thank you. Okay, Motida, please.
The research is using holistic approach to the leaders promote the youth leaders, and then the advocacy, human rights advocacy, and then the spiritual leader is engage the training, the fee visit, and then campaign and publication, something like that. So the leaders will promote action as a promote of the social transformation. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Motida.
Thank you.
Leize, after reading this, said, I want to do something, I need to know where this is. So it has to be more explicit and maybe centered, not just in commentary or footnotes. So this can lead people to action, which is true. Like for many NGOs, they say this is the situation of the climate, of animal extinction. They say, then here's our address, contact us. Yeah, that's a good point. It should be explicit, especially this is not just paper for the sake of the paper, but it's more action related. And as Winbo say, radical. No? So moving for social change. And a couple of you talk about holistic, from Saya to Motida. And but we should not forget the local level, which is for Winbo's point. And thank you for all of your excellent critique. Yeah, great points, all of it. Them. Okay, I guess you kind of covered the strengths and weaknesses that way, so we can skip this. Overall, maybe. Okay, let's do this. What's your overall evaluation of the case after reading through all of it? The case, not the paper. Or you can make both, or if you can make the distinction. Case meaning this ecumenical movement, based on what you have read, how do you think it's doing its work? And so on and so forth. Let's say if you're ready, yes.
According to the example that you provided in the test, it seems that it's a movement that is growing. So you gave a lot of examples that these ecumenical peace building actions from a lot of religious leaders, it's happened. Maybe it's in the beginning, but we can see the shift, the small seed. So I think it's starting, and it takes time to see how to grow it, or if you die, maybe like the church in Europe is dying, or something like that.
Thank you, Lazy. Kathy, please.
I tried to piece together a little bit of my thoughts. It might be related a little bit to what Liza has just shared and also what I shared in my earlier response. I think this is a very good introduction to ecumenical case study. I would be curious to put alongside of this kind of case study how other ecumenical case studies have approached, because one thing that is unique, and maybe I should have said, I'm sorry, classmates, that I did not divulge this before, but in full disclosure, I participated in some of these activities, and I don't know if Dr. Ray used any of my inputs, but I remember being part of this process. So I was also, under examination. So that's not to say that I'm biased, but I didn't know at the time, and maybe you didn't know even, Dr. Ray, you will make a paper of this one day, if you're thinking so far ahead like that. Because I'm glad you didn't say anything to that effect, but I did notice that when I first joined different CCA activities, we don't have this kind of what I call upfront preparation and even reflection to really get the most out of whatever gathering or event we are planning for. So I really appreciated to see that kind of shift because I noticed it more, especially as we are doing other activities. But I guess there's still a part of me that's kind of lacking some substance, because here I say, for example, you brought up this idea of the social entrepreneur model and how you are not a social entrepreneur and how it's related to capitalism. And I would have loved personally to learn more about that, but I don't think that was related. And I think you and introducing your role as a program planner, as opposed to lifting up the voices and the experiences of the church leaders themselves, that kind of tension also because you are part of that ecumenical case study, because you are also that staff member who is making these activities. So all this to say is I would have appreciated here, because you mentioned in your methodological approach, you will be drawing on narrative reports. And even though I felt as though the way you outlined the case study was more of a catalog of these experiences and not so much the impact of the experiences themselves. So I am saying several things, but I hope there's some coherence to what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Next would be Seya, please.
I'll try to absorb it, because nowadays I think with the changes in the world, spiritual leaders before they play only roles of church leaders, but now with all the social issues that's arising, and you see here in your paper, you're touching different issues and addressing them and involving them. So I feel that different social issues have to be handled, but always not enough. I mean, yep. Because I used to visit my friend who is in rural development. So when you have to ask, what are the religious actors and spiritual leaders doing? They are not doing about spiritual thing anymore, but they are involved also in social things and development. So with all these issues and the approaches that you mentioned here, I think it's good. but still there are rules more to do. What I see in the current situation in like how do you call environmental issues, human rights issue, labor issue, women how do you call women issues, gender, and all these things. So there's many more to do, and we have to come together and do more. What I see from this.
Okay, thank you so much. Winbo, please.
And for me, I don't have like any other specific evaluations on the case. At the end of the paper, like you gave these diagrams, which are very connected and linked and like very coherent. My argument would be like the same. It would like be really great to balance the paper with more of the local religious leaders movements regarding these issues. So that's my opinion on that.
Okay, thank you. Motida.
So in this case, the first is the rules of spiritual leader to find in this case. So in the last finding is that the spiritual leaders, as much as they can, continuous doing the social intervention for promoting and training the new generation for the social transformation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to react more because there's a mouthful here. Number one for Laise, she says this kind of work will take time and it either be a growing movement or it could just go down the drain, which is true because you need a lot of patience, hard work, perseverance, resilience. Like for Kathy, this is not just a one-time thing. It's not fly by night. Kathy had invested her life, her mission to move to another part of the world, focus on her, for example, her work on working with migrant labor. And by the way, Kathy is with the Presbyterian Church of the U.S., but she's also linked with the National Council of Churches of the Philippines, United Church of Christ of the Philippines, both of which are ecumenical movements, and both of which are members of the Christian Conference of Asia. Okay, so these are all intertwined movements, and here the Church of Christ of Thailand, the biggest church of Thailand, is also a member of the Christian Conference of Asia. It's a big not global, regional network. For one, Winbo say, why are you only regional? Why don't you look local and national? True, very good. Because we national churches act based on their own context and needs and responses. Let me give you an example. Initially, the Christian Conference of Asia, Laise, remind me that I know you raise your hand, but I'll give my spiel first. Wanted to write a statement about, in the past, and then I'll talk about the future and then the present. In the past, to talk about releasing Aung San Suu Kyi from house arrest in the 1980s, okay, late 80s. But we asked the what do you call it now? There's the Myanmar Baptist Council. I forgot the name. MMC, Myanmar Council of Churches. Yes, MCC. We talked with them, and then we also talked with the Baptist Church, both in Yangon. We went there. We asked them, "Is it okay we write?" They say no. Why? Because if you do that, think about it. Who will be affected? Who will be imprisoned? Who will be closed down? It's not UCCA in Chiang Mai, Thailand. It's us in Myanmar. We will be ostracized, we will be silenced, we will be shut down. So we have to listen to the local churches and the national churches. They do their thing. But on areas when we can work together, organizing all of Asia, not only Turkey to the South Latin America to Europe, US, she's doing that. But the Christian Conference of Asia has a focus. It's Asia, and it cannot do national level. Another example on Rohingya. We had the meeting, Dr. Lee attended the meeting in Yangon. There's a big meeting in Yangon. This is a general assembly. I forgot, maybe first 600 for the actual conference, and about 5 to 6,000 people attended the anniversary church celebration in Yangon. It was event of the Christian Conference of Asia, the ecumenical movement for Asia based in Thailand, but it was sponsored, all the expenses, by the Baptist Church of Myanmar. So a lot of people say we have come up with a statement of the Rohingya because this is human rights violation, clearly. But then the Myanmar Council of Churches and the Myanmar Baptist Church said the same thing. Look, we know there's a problem, but if you make a statement here, this meeting will be shut down. You will be, I think Kathy and Dr. Lee were in that meeting too. Kathy and Dr. Lee were there. You will all be sent home, and the Myanmar Council of Churches national office will be shut down. The Myanmar Baptist Church will be shut down, not only nationally but locally. That's why the CCA cannot speak on behalf of the local churches and national churches. They speak for themselves. But in areas where you can unite, we unite, including talking about labor, trafficking of women, trafficking of children, child labor. Those are open that governments are willing to discuss. But if you talk about Aung San Suu Kyi, if you talk about the Rohingya, we all want to. There was a big feeling. Everyone was so frustrated in Myanmar. Why can we not do this? Because the national churches say we cannot, because they will suffer. Not these these elated outsiders who are wise and enlightened who want to talk about this and go home the next day. They will not suffer. It's the local people in Myanmar who will suffer. Okay? So there is wisdom in not pretending to talk on behalf of the local. We cannot. Yeah, but that's another agenda for me. I can talk about the local churches here in Thailand since I'm here, and I did a lot of volunteer work with them, feeding the disabled, the poor, and also during the COVID, cooking and distributing food. They've been doing, and giving citizens, helping hill tribes who are stateless to get citizenship. They are doing that silently. And they're also helping trafficked children. Okay, trafficked children. They're doing a lot of work. But these are all government will be happy that they do these things. But we cannot make big statements on behalf of other people. But that's another agenda. I can do that. I can write that for maybe the next paper. And for Leize, we do peace building. I want to make this now so you can understand. Dr. Lee is our in-house expert on inner peace, a psychological approach, and personal level of analysis. Like, how to engage in dialogue, how to avoid conflict on a personal level. But the Christian Conference of Asia works on the level of social justice. Those are different aspects of peace, but they're all parts of peace. So very different, very different. Not wrong, not better, different. Okay? So sometimes when we have trauma, you need inner peace. So you need counseling, you need meditation, you need quiet time, things like that. You need to think your thoughts before you say things, anger management. That's personal level of analysis. But the ecumenical movement works on the social level of analysis. Okay, so peace building could include social justice work, and it also can involve inner peace work. Okay, so those are just two examples because I'm thinking of Dr. Lee and the ecumenical movement, of which I am a part, and of which Kathy is a big part also of. So we work on a bigger level. So that's my response to, let me say, indirectly and directly more to Winbo on the role of why we do only local, and we don't do local, but on a regional level. Okay, there are limitations on working on the local level. And by the way, everything that the ecumenical movement at the Asia level does has to have the approval of the national churches and members and the national councils of churches in each country. And there are national councils of churches in Korea, South Korea, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, East Timor, Indonesia, Malaysia, not Singapore, okay? Where else? India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan, Iran. I think that's about it. Sri Lanka. Okay, if I can go around. China wanted, Taiwan is a member. China is an observer. If they ask for membership, the general secretary is ready to accept them. But they have to initiate it. But they are in dialogue with the Christian Conference of Asia constantly. And they even had the booth in the big Myanmar meeting where Kathy and Dr. Lee attended. Big tables, but they were not able to talk because they were just observers. And I forgot, there are other observers. The Armenian Orthodox Church, Lebanon, observe also the Russian Orthodox Church. Okay, and the membership are Catholic, Protestant, Syrian Orthodox, Orthodox Syrian, Malankara, and all of those different kinds of, and home churches, especially of Cambodia. I forgot to mention Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, Myanmar, all are members of this movement. Okay, and Kathy, I have a laundry list of response. Very good critique, evaluation. Kathy say this is good. If you want to show a case study, this is maybe one way to show it. But it's good to show other ecumenical case studies, yeah. But my one thing you have to remember when you write a paper or a chapter, you're given word limit. You have to stick to the word limit. And we were reminded, for example, they say 12,000 words, okay, and then, or 11,000 words. And then they wrote me, Ray, you have 11,050 words. You have to throw away the 50 words. So it's space limitation. There's only so much you can do when you write a paper. And then when they say this will now go to journal review from a conference, it has to be reduced to 9,000 words. So you have to learn the lesson of cutting instead of adding. So you have to limit what you will cover. If I were to include local church, national church, narratives, which are important, this will be like 100,000 words. It's a book, you know? So that's one lesson we learn. Word counts every time you submit. Like for conference, they would say 6 pages max or 20 pages max. You have to limit what you will include and make sure it's a coherent piece. If you have one paragraph on narrative, one paragraph on national church, it looks like you're just chopping things up. Yeah, okay. So it's not an excuse, but I'm just explaining word count. There are limitations. And then forgot. Yes, I did not say that I was a program executive, no, of the Christian Conference of Asia. I was in charge of both peace building and human rights. They call it prophetic diaconia. It's basically human rights. And I was an in-house person, and it's true, there's a tension. I do what is within the mandate and understanding of the ecumenical movement. I'll give you a concrete example. I was asked my second month, July 2016, at this ecumenical organization. They said, present a paper in Medan, Indonesia. We will have a Protestant Catholic conference. Every 2 years, there's a conference. Ray present a paper on the environment. And then I will be the representative of the Protestant. And then there's a representative from the Catholic Church, Father Joseph. And then there's a representative from, you might know him, Kathy. He was a professor of theology in India. Zachariah, his name, but now he's in New Zealand. Okay, so they presented their papers, and I was following the official line. When we talk about environmentalism, it's stewardship. I was heavily critiqued by the Orthodox Church and by Professor Dr. Zachariah. I forgot his full name. Publicly, they said this is a very limited scope. This is looking at human domination and human, what's the word? Supremacy, human chauvinism. Yeah, you're saying that since God created you, you're the center of the world, you are in charge of the world. So you can do, the implication is you do as you think fit. Like, I can eat chicken, but I cannot eat a dog. Like, what's the difference between chicken and the dog? They both cry, they both suffer, they can both feel pain, they can bleed. So, who decides? It's human domination. But the Orthodox priest, he's an Archbishop, Metropolitan Theophilus. They were there. He was there in Myanmar also. Theophilus, I forgot his full name. I'm bad with names. He said the same thing. He said, this is just human chauvinism. I said, so what's your alternative? Ecocentrism. I said, I believe in that, but it's not the position of the ecumenical, of the Christian Conference of CCA, Church, what's this? Christian Conference of Asia. It's not their position. So I brought, so they invited me to dinner. I had the dinner, and another person, Father Joseph, Catholic, and then another Catholic priest he's an American, I think. He was in Mindanao, he's now in Hong Kong. Kathy might know him. I'm bad with names. And then Metropolitan Theophilus. We had dinner at the end and we discussed. So we talk about this and that. I say, I am an insider. I have to toe the line. I cannot say otherwise. I said, I totally believe in you, in ecocentrism. And then I also raised the argument to them. I said, I don't read Aramaic, Hebrew, or Greek, but the word in Genesis is dominion. I think there's no other way to really redefine it except by, making fake news. I said this to them, calling it stewardship. I say dominion, look up the dictionary. Dominion is clear. It means, the root word is dominate, to have rule over, to have your kingdom, your domain. I said there's no other way. But I didn't even say that. I hid it. I just say stewardship. It's not in the Bible as I read it in English. I don't read, again, Hebrew, Aramaic, or Greek. So I cannot say with certainty what it was. I say, how do you respond to this? You are going too far left. The Bible says dominion. I said stewardship. I kind of toned it down. I whitewashed it. Sorry for lack of a better term. Maybe greenwashed it. Okay, it's better. I greenwashed it. But then you are not only greenwashing it, you're changing the whole philosophy into ecocentrism. So we ended up just discussing, no conclusion about that. I say we're all not saying what's in the Bible, either stewardship of ecocentrism. But then I brought this back to a meeting, we have every Monday meeting at the CCA, and I said, look, this was raised in during the meeting and with discussion, and I was told, no, that is not what we want. We stick to stewardship. Okay, that is my limitation as an insider. I was running the program, literally running. I was not the thinker. I couldn't be a thinker. It's in my writing in academic journals, I can spill out my thoughts and say these are the different views, but then this is my take on it. But as an insider, you have limitations. Okay, there are rules. Like for some rabidly fundamentalist colleges, like Wheaton College in Wheaton, I had to sign. No? They were looking for political science instructors. I have to sign that I believe in God, that I'm Christian. I am, but I have to sign it and to stick to the Christian teachings. I have to sign that piece of document before they will hire you. So you have to follow by the rules, or else just leave it. Okay, that's only because I could not change it. I had no voice. It was made clear. We were like staff. We were not the board that makes the decision. Okay, so it's a long answer to a very complex question that Kathy had raised. And then yes, I was thinking of writing narratives okay, many things. Why have I not written narratives about these are the things I want to write about. The situation of the labor camps in Dubai, which I visited 3 times, and in Bahrain. Part of my job is to go out for pastoral solidarity, to provide pastoral care. By the way, there are 2 kinds of missionary. The religious, you go preach and convert people, and the other spiritual. I was a spiritual missionary. We were missionaries here. If you look at the paper, these are the missions of the CCA. It's not to convert people, very clearly. Sorry. But to do all the social services that you have read, human rights, migrant labor, that's the kind of missionary that I was. Okay? It's not teaching people how to pray, how to do services. Excuse me. I want to write narratives about the labor camps, which I've seen with my own eyes. I've interviewed people. I've taken pictures, but they requested me not to have them shown anywhere, including Facebook. Again, the same thing, because it's the local people who will suffer, not me. Okay? So I did not show any picture to anyone, but I say just for me may I. And I talk with the people who work in the labor camps, okay, and went to their dwellings, a small room with like 8-10 beds, or they sleep on the floor, they everything. If you visited my room, maybe it's this small, but you have like 10 beds. Imagine how people can fit in with all of their belongings and cooking ware and so on. And another one, I wanted to write narrative about the refugee camp. The question is there a call for paper on these? It's not like I have a wonderful thing, I'll publish it. Like, who are you, Ray? Who cares about you? So I wrote this paper because there was call for a paper on spirituality. Bang! I said, this is what I've been doing for the past 4 years. And as Kathy asked, did you plan this? Maybe not. I did not. There was a call. I said, Eureka! Thank goodness. It's a chance for me to think about it and to write about my 4 years of experiences. I did not plan on writing this at all. So here, Kathy caught my critique. I say there are 3 different ways of doing things, and I'm not for this. I'm for this and that. But I couldn't say that as an insider because they say, Ray, you're not part of the executive board. You have no decision-making power. I tried to do that with ecocentrism. I was given a good scolding. Like, Ray, you're just staff. You're not the brain. You're the hands and the feet. In so many words. Okay, so these are some narratives that I want to write. I have the documents. I have big files on the refugee camp in Mela, and then the services that they provide there, and photos and interviews. I had big files on Bahrain and Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, all the labor camps and and the services provided there. But there's no opportunity yet. It's not how great your ideas are. That's what we think. The world revolves around us, but it does not. We respond to calls for paper. Like here, we always say, "Oh, we have big idea about this," and I would say, let's say to Dr. Tony, "Relax, Dr. Tony. Come to planet Earth. We cannot just tell these funding agencies this is what we want to do. We have to respond to their calls for proposal. It's their money, not our money. So we will respond to what they want. We might have great ideas, but if it doesn't match what they want, like we are in a dream world. I'm sure Winbo knows this. I'm sure Motida knows this. I'm sure Saya knows this. You respond to calls for proposal. Okay, and Kathy, of course, knows this too. We don't just have big, great ideas and, okay, I want to write narratives about the refugee and the labor workers in the labor camp. Like, hello, Ray, we don't need that now. Okay, so when the time comes, bam, I have the data, I'll write them up, I'll think about it, write them up, and submit. I hope that clarifies Kathy's conundrum. Like, why don't you really write about narrative? It would be a whole piece, like narrative, but not this one. And then, so there's really tension between an insider and an outsider. I couldn't do that. Kathy was very vocal in all of the meetings. We don't call them conferences, we call them consultation. There's a big difference. Conference, you listen to great people talking. Consultation, we ask each one to give their views. So we literally go around the table. We ask for their own situation. And when I was there, I asked everyone to submit one pager because one pager is doable. I don't ask for 6-page paper or 20-page. And then I compile them, put them together as a booklet and as a PDF. And we can see each one's view. So consultation is more democratic. It's centered on the participants. Whereas conference, you listen to the big experts. That's the philosophy of this ecumenical movement. It's oftentimes, almost always, consultations. Okay, and then good point about impact. This is the big problem of ecumenical movement. Very great critique of Kathy. In fact, funding agencies want to always ask impact, and CCA doesn't know how to do impact assessment. And I had a full doctoral level course on evaluation, which includes impact assessment, formative assessment, but I was just a staff. They don't care. But in my programs that I run, right after class, there are many types of evaluation, and I make my whole evaluation plan my own. But there's a standard, like how satisfied are you? Do you like the room? Do you like the facilities? To me, that's a very shallow, limited doing evaluation. But many funding agencies are happy with that. But I do multi-level complex, including social impact, behavioral change, and commitment thereafter. In most of the programs I ran, there's a commitment to do a volunteer community project. It will be easy, doable, local level. Because if you say big, it will not be done. If it's expensive, there's no funds. So I often require a small, doable, small project within 3 months after you go home. because scientific studies show if it's beyond 3 months of learning, it will be gone. So people have to do it within 3 months. So, so I was able to make meaning changes without saying, this is how you do impact assessment on a big scale, because I cannot do that. But within my own program, I do that. And when the external evaluators came, there were two of them, they were shocked and surprised to see how I do evaluation for my program. Like, wow, who made this? I said, I. Like, this is how do you, they didn't even know how to do the evaluation I did. I was literally trained how to do it, but I can only do it on my small scale, okay, in my own little programs. Okay, thank you. I think that those are some of my comments. If there's something else I did not respond to, let me know. And then for, let me see. Yeah, Laize, you were raising your hand. Sorry, I knew you had something you want to react to immediately when something came up.
No, I gave claps to Cat's work and your work. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so Kathy, you have follow-up questions I did not respond to. You want to?
Just a way of saying thank you to responding to my initial thoughts. The last point was maybe it's part of that tension of insider outsider, because this idea of Paul Framer and his criticism of some of the.
Yes.
I was curious if Paul Framer, for example, why I mentioned that is, do the spiritual leaders also experience that tension and say, some of the things that we are trying to do are also, even though they are sounding very good and have some very transformative potential, some of these spiritual leaders are actually also reinforcing some of the capitalist underpinnings of their, even in their attempt to address social concerns. So I know that's a whole other topic, but the fact that you mentioned it, and it seemed like, wait, that's kind of a teaser. Like, I want to learn more about that, but I also feel like that could have been something that maybe because of constraints, I know you couldn't develop it, but that's definitely something that I'm very interested in as well, is just how sometimes capitalism rears its ugly head even in ways that we don't think. And even when we have good intentions, somehow we're actually reinforcing patriarchy. We're reinforcing all the systems that we want to stamp out. So that's more of a broad sentiment. But
Yeah, number one, again, it's space limitation, remember? And then I would just say these are some of the debates and arguments on how to do this type of work. And then another one is, it's really problematic. I have many friends. I was part of the local interfaith network for peace and justice where I live in Chicagoland. And I had debates with my friends. They're all bleeding heart, rich people. I say, social entrepreneurship is really capitalism, and it's profit seeking, and there are problems even in Bangladesh. That's another story. They say, no, this is good. But I said, I'll show you the critique. And then there are articles that say, this is hiding under the beautiful name of social entrepreneurship, but really this is still profit seeking, rent seeking, and it's the poor who have to do this. And they are just, instead of going to the big bankers, they're going to the small money lenders. And I say, this exists already. For instance, in the Philippines, there are already small money lenders, and they charge 20-30% interest. They exist. It's just a new, very fragrant term. And bleeding heart liberals love it. It's hard to go against it. That's number one in the US. And number two, even in Paul Farmer, as you read the article, he won the first Skoll Foundation Award for Social Entrepreneurship, and he attacked it. He was the winner, the first one. And Jimmy Carter was there. He made it clear, this is not a good model. Okay? And then in Bangladesh, I went to Bangladesh 3 times, I think. The first one for human rights, second for environment, and third for violent extremism. Okay, the third one is with CCA. The previous ones were with my previous life as an academic too. So I said, oh, how is Muhammad Yunus? He won the Nobel Prize for Social Entrepreneurship in Sri Lanka with the BRAC Foundation. What did he do? Now he supports Islamic violent extremism. See, from social development, defending women, now he supports violence. I was so shocked when I heard this. And they say he's removed from the pedestal. He's not anymore revered. He was like the first known person for social entrepreneurship globally. Think about that. From a bleeding heart, he was getting money every time he talks in Chicago, New York, wherever, in London, Paris, Geneva. Now he's supporting, that's what they were telling me, the Christian groups that I visited in. And we were there to talk about violent extremism against Hindus, against Muslims, against Christians. And we even visited the official Islamic center of the government. And they are fighting Islamic extremism, the religious extremism. Yes, Kathy.
He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes,
also.
that's what I said.
Yeah.
It was.
Wow.
There you go. There you go. So how can you say stop social entrepreneurship? It's a hard battle to fight. Even the first winner, Dr. Paul Farmer, was against it. Harvard, huh? At that. Okay. So there are many issues you can raise. Okay, what are the theoretical and social problems of this paper? We don't have to finish the case study. I think Dr. Lee is words. She wants her time. But yeah, maybe I'll stop at 10:30. But the point is to make you think and think differently, and which you have done here, which is wonderful. That's the point of case study. Okay. And then, what are the theoretical and social problems that the case addresses? I think maybe they're staring you in the eye. It's just almost impossible, invisible. Yeah, some of you have even mixed the two words like they're the same. That's the theoretical problem, which spills over to social problem. That's one major problem I see. Okay, hint. It's in fact in the first line of the paper. In fact, it's in the title. One big problematic theoretical issue which spills over to social issue. I've discussed a little bit too.
I need to start again.
Sorry, Laise, what is it?
Do I need to start? I think the theory of spiritual leadership and social transformation.
Okay, theory of spiritual leadership. Okay, Kathy, what's so problematic about that? What's the theoretical issue or social issue?
Liza, do you want to continue? Yeah.
It's okay.
No, or you're addressing me. Yeah.
Or somebody else wants to respond. Let me go. What's the order? Saya, do you have some idea?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? It's okay. Winbow.
Is theoretical problem, I think, is like saving souls.
Say it again, please. Saving souls.
Like saving the souls only.
That's good. You're getting there. Okay. So, Laise, talk about spiritual leadership, and Winbo talk about saving souls. Now, look for the connection or lack of connection or tension. Now, who wants to continue? On the one hand, you have spiritual leadership. On the other hand, you have saving souls. We're getting there. We're getting there. Is there contradiction? Is there tension? Is there unity? Think again. Spiritual leadership, saving souls. We're in the right direction.
Maybe, Ray, when you talk about spiritual leadership, sometimes that focus is not on the material world, on the natural world. So that's when you talk about souls, that's one way of thinking about spiritual leadership in terms of souls, right? Saving souls. But in this case, you're talking about the potential for conflict or inequality or injustice and how it shows up in the material world.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kathy got it. In this paper, spiritual is defined one way. Religious is defined in another way. And there are religious leaders and there are spiritual leaders. So that is the tension. And you should not confuse one or the other in this paper. So one is saving souls. You want to convert people. They have to be Christians. You have to baptize them. They have to read the Bible. The other hand says, no, you are in the world. Work with the world and you continue the mission of God in the world. Okay, if you know what that is. Are you all with me? I think Kathy is frozen. Yeah, are you all frozen or hello? I can't see anyone. Okay.
Recording in progress.
So,
Yeah, I think, Dr. Ray, yeah.
Huh? So there's a distinction between spiritual leadership and religious leadership. So some of you have been confusing them, others have not. So that is the issue here. You talk about the mission of God when you talk about dealing with the world. That's the spiritual leadership. Okay, so you can look at, there's some quotations which are used by YMCA, used by the Christian Youth Federation, something, and also the CCA. Many big, and even Canada, the Church of Canada, use this slogan that all may be one. And then the mission is doing God's work on earth. That is not saving souls, but doing God, continuing and being part of God's work on earth. So being in the material world, dealing with the suffering people and the groaning earth. Those are some of the words, theological phraseology that they come up with. If you read the paper carefully, it explains there's a difference between spiritual and religious leaders. Okay. So what are the theories that guide this paper? If you remember, shall we go lazy?
Sorry, you mean theories that you used to develop the paper?
Yes.
So you spoke a little bit about this post-colonial theory.
Okay. Stick to one, huh? And could you tell us what it is?
Yeah, this idea that we should not came with one approach and try to impose to the others as the best, but try to listen more voices and new perspectives, maybe try to forget the European model, Western model that uniform everything.
Okay, thank you. Kathy, one theory, if there's another one.
Another theory is related, but it's this idea of the critical theory.
Okay. Do you know what
that
it is? Yeah.
I'm not sure if I know fully, but as I understand it, also it one how do I say, it comes out of the West, and it is a way of analyzing power
Yes.
and domination, and those are not just political terms, but they also relate to economic forms. So it's also an analysis of capitalism, for example. So that's critical theory. Yeah.
Thank you. And Saya, do you see another one? If there is another one.
I don't really know how to phrase it, but I see that spiritualism and also existentialism.
Okay, thank you. Winbo?
I think it is grounded theory.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And Motida?
I didn't see anything, Jen.
Okay,
I'm
that's
reading now.
fine.
Yeah, thank you.
That's fine. Okay, so Kathy saw critical theory, and critical theory came from Germany as critical theory. You have the Frankfurt School, Adorno, Horkheimer, Marcuse, and then Gramsci in Italy, and so on. And then it moved to France. In general, you have many other thinkers in France, Foucault, and so on. And then you move to the US, critical legal theory. It became Americanized. And then from critical legal theory, it became critical race theory, which became very specific, written by Marjorie Crenshaw, which is now banned by the Republicans in some states in the US. I can remember Wisconsin is one of them. Only like last week or 2 weeks ago, they're banning this without knowing what the theory is. And there's article from an academic source, I forgot the name, like something of higher learning, but a very reputable website, saying that this, they found out, is a KOCH funded project. They spread to Fox News, to everywhere, Republican Party, and then they're now banning talking about critical race theory, especially in state-owned and public colleges and universities and schools. I should say. So this is one trend, but then you have the critical post-colonial. It's not okay from being originally from Germany. It came to like Martinique, Frantz Fanon, to Africa. There are many African writers, to the Philippines, and so on. So this, and then to theologians who say, no, we're not doing what the Westerners telling us to do. We have our own context. We do what we want to do. Okay, so in some of us at CCA were thinking for a long time, why are all of the theologians we know Westerners? Why? We always quote Western scholars, and we realized only Western scholars were recognized up to, I don't exact date, 1977 or something, when the Southern theologians demanded a place at the table. It's after that time that theologians from the global South were able to produce literature recognized globally. So this is a Western imposed embargo of the narratives, discourses, ideas, theories from the global South. I don't know the exact date, but we found out why. Why all of the CCA participants only mouth Western scholars. It's not by accident. It was a design by the Western churches to only recognize Western voices. So after that date, I don't know when, like 1977, we see the emergence of Gustavo Gutierrez, you see Pablo Conference, and all of the voices coming from the global south. Then you have Bishop Desmond Tutu, Bishop of East Timor, Bishop of Negros, Philippines, Bishop of Zamboanga of Davao, everyone now coming up and talking. Recognize voices. And remember, that's the Protestant part. On the Catholic part, all of the popes were Italian until Pope John Paul I. And then you now have Pope from Argentina. What's his name? Francis. Okay. So you now see different voices coming in. It was closed door policy. For the Protestants, Westerners. For the Catholics, Catholic. Italian. And then it was a demand, like, be open. Now you have cardinals in the upper seats of Rome or Vatican. You now have Africans and Asians and everyone else having a bigger say. So that's why it's called critical post-colonial. And CC is critical of Western thought. It wants to hear Asian voices and also collect liturgy and songs and music from Asia. Like, we all know Western hymns. Like, why? Don't we have our own hymns? That's why CC had collected one book, something called like The Call of the Bamboo or something. And it wants to do a second volume. Like, we all sing the same Western songs. Are we not creative? Don't we have our own culture and music? So this is the demand to change. So it's called critical, questioning power, as Kathy said. Post-colonial, we're not tied to the colonial theology. We create our own. And Saya mentioned existentialism. And therefore, this is now called contextual theology. Was it Winbo who mentioned that? Yes, Winbo. Therefore, theology is not something from above and from the West. We are making our theology based on our needs. So now you have Adivasi theology, indigenous people of India, Dalit theology, the untouchables of India, feminist theology, which is very complex, and then you have theology of disabled. CCA has asked disabled theologians who are themselves disabled to write theology of the disabled. Now it's a challenge for Kathy to have a theology of migrant labor. Kathy, it's your challenge to come up with a book global in scope with contextual theology. Each country has some people talking about this. Okay, that's the challenge. I have not seen, I may be wrong, a collected anthology of migrant labor theology.
No, there's no collection, but there is someone from Australia who is Filipina who is doing some of that work. Yeah.
You need to hear different voices. Each context is different. So maybe you can get funding from the Presbyterian Church of the US and say there's a gap in the literature. There you go. And this is my mission. I'm a missionary in the Philippines for Asia, and I'm doing all of this, but there's no contextual theology for migrant labor in Asia. I found the gap for you. That's your research agenda for your church, for your church mission. Among others, I know you are overworked and ton enfant est en train d'étudier la langue française en même temps. Okay. So you are muted, so I cannot hear your response. Je peux pas entendre. C'est muet.
C'est pas moi, c'est pas moi,
Ouais,
c'est
voilà,
mon
c'est ton
mari.
enfant.
C'est mon mari.
Voilà.
Yeah, mon mari. But
Quand même,
sorry,
tu
yeah,
es dans la,
yeah.
Quand même, tu es à la maison. Okay, so you found those, And one more thing is human rights-based approach. You didn't see that, huh? Another theory. You know what? You can do, Ong already know this in Laize, I taught them yesterday, passive reading. If there's a figure, and if it's a well-written paper, you see the summary without reading the section on theory. It's right there in a figure. That's why you need to produce at least one figure in your paper that summarizes the whole paper. Okay, so human rights-based approach is another. It's deep. Huh? There's a lot of things going on. It means economic, social, political, civil, economic, social, cultural, civil, and political rights. So all of the social work, environment, migration, labor, child labor, all stuff are included. And the research perspective is putting all of these together. But as Winbo, is it Winbo who pointed out? Yeah, the grounded theory, that is the product of looking at the whole paper. So I came up with, this is not what I actually used, but they guided me, these different theories, and I put them together, but the actual case produced very concrete, grounded theory, which you saw at the end, right? It's called Figure 3 Grounded Theory. Very clear. So that summarizes the whole paper in one figure. And I have another version in the paper I submitted for consideration in a journal. Okay, so these are some guides to things. And Dr. Lee can shut me down anytime she wants to because she demands her time back. Okay. Yeah. Dr. Lee wants to shut me down in 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you can end. Yeah. Thank you,
Okay,
Dr. Ray.
so I will shut down in 2 minutes. So if you can look at the methodology, yeah, again, we don't have to finish the case. It's letting you think through. And then when you look at the research questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, and how were they answered? If you look at the paper, let me see the findings. Look at page 5. It says research findings 1, it looked at, when you write your findings, have an overall topic sentence that will tell you a glimpse of what is the whole content of the whole section. And I read, this section presents the 4 major findings. 1, current crisis. 2, role of spiritual leaders. 3, social intervention. 4, outcome of social intervention. So you already know the whole content of chapter on a section on findings by the topic sentence. And how did I start with the subsection 1? By reminding you, this is response to research question 1. So you are not fooling yourself. You are answering your own questions. Don't give 4 questions on top and 6 answers at the end, no relation to the question. You see what I'm saying? This forces you to think systematically, logically, coherently. What you promise in the research question and research purpose, you will answer one by one. Okay, so this is how you do it. So you see each one in our subsection. We're not looking at the details. And then, towards the end, I sum up the whole paper in one figure. So all of you must learn how to visualize, provide a visual representation of your whole paper. At least one figure or table. So when people read passively, they just skim through the pages, look at the figures or table. Some of you saw the figure, so you know the theory, and then you saw the whole paper at the end. So also end with a topic sentence, which will be the conclusion. Okay, so that I hope you learned some tricks of writing. They're not tricks. That's academic rigor in writing. And then some insights on the ecumenical movement. And Kathy is she is an insider, not directly of CCA, but she is a member of many ecumenical movement and participated. So she had more in-depth question, to which I provided in-depth answers. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ray, for your time and for your sharing with us about your work. And a lot of things for us to learn from you about writing paper. So